I'm going to ask that you raise your right hand. So, ma'am, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving in these proceedings will be the truth?
I do.
Okay. And next thing, can you just give us your first name and your last name and spell them for us, please?
Sure. Teresa McBride, Teresa McBride.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Engel.
Good afternoon, Ms. McBride. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm going to ask you to pull that microphone just a little bit closer to you.
Sure. Is that better?
Perfect. Thank you. Where do you live, Ms. McBride?
North of Independence?
Is that close to Traer or the Traer community?
No.
Okay.
About an hour and 15 minutes.
All right. Did you live in or around Traer around 2021?
Yes, I did. I lived in Traer from 2019 until the fall of 2023.
Did you know Karina and Ryan Cooper?
Yes, I did.
How did you know them?
I met them through Brian Morrison, who I was dating at the time.
What's the nature of your relationship with Ryan and Karina?
They were friends of Brian's, and they became friends of mine.
So when you say you're friends, what kind of stuff were you guys doing? Could you describe the relationship?
Oh, we went on, we did a lot of camping together, went up north and went snowmobiling, get together in the shop for social gatherings, either at their place or other friends in Traer area.
How often?
Pretty on a regular basis. We were somewhere either some night during the week or maybe throughout the weekends. Sometime, depending on the time of the season, if it was harvest or planting, we may not see Ryan as much and Karina, but we usually tried to get together.
Because presumably Ryan was busy with work in the fields, is that correct?
Yes.
Were you close with Karina?
We had gotten close throughout the years, probably not as close as some of the other friends in the area because I was kind of a transplant.
Okay, what do you mean by that? You were a transplant?
I wasn't originally from there. I grew up in the Independence area. And then when Brian and I started dating, I moved to that location in 2019.
You talked a little bit about the different things you would do together. It sounds like you were seeing them at least once a week, maybe a little bit more, going on some trips. How long would you say that relationship lasted?
I would say probably up until maybe the spring of 2021, sorry. Then things kind of started to fizzle away. We didn't get together as much, it seemed like. But then after Ryan's passing, we started getting together a little bit more frequently. We were doing some girl trip things. But then that kind of phased away as well too once I left.
So you were spending some time with Karina following Ryan's death, right?
Yes.
When you're spending time, it sounds like with both Ryan and Karina, did you have an opportunity to observe their relationship and their relationship dynamic?
Yes.
How would you describe that relationship? When you say several, what do you mean?
Well, it seemed like a lot of times when we would go camping, something would get said or something wouldn't get done, and she would get upset and it would cause a fight. Or if we were at someone's shop or at their shop, something would get said, and I don't know what those things were, but it seemed like she might get a little upset more than you would expect someone to get upset.
Okay. And you mentioned, and some other people have mentioned, getting together in people's shops. What does that mean?
Well, it was kind of a Traer thing, I guess. Every shop had a bar.
Okay.
And so, you just get together, for a couple of cocktails or drinks just to see how everybody's week's going, or if people are having a bad day, hey, let's get together and have a couple. It was just a common thing.
And so when you say a shop, do you mean an outbuilding on a farm property typically?
Not necessarily on a farm property, but there was some in town, people had nice, glamorous shops or garages or, but it could be on both a farm or in town.
All right. So you said that occasionally you would see Karina Cooper getting upset with Ryan, perhaps more than you would expect. What was Ryan's reaction typically, if there was a typical reaction?
He would just kind of back away. He didn't really engage much, would put his head down or maybe just leave just because he didn't want to have to deal with the confrontation.
So you knew Ryan pretty well. How would you describe his personality generally?
He'd give you the shirt off his back if that was all he had left.
Did you or do you know someone by the name of Houston Danker?
I know of him. I wasn't close with him.
At some point, did you become aware of an affair between Houston Danker and Karina Cooper?
I heard a lot of talk of it.
Did you have any personal knowledge of that?
No.
Ryan was killed in June of 2021. Did you see any changes or note any changes in Karina's behavior leading up to Ryan's death?
She kind of got a little quieter, maybe wasn't getting involved with activities, losing a lot of weight to the point where it was almost concerning, like maybe there was some sort of underlying health issue. Just not the Karina I once knew.
You had stated that you observed a number of different potential arguments during which Karina would yell at Ryan, and Ryan's reaction was essentially calm. Were you aware of the topics or the nature of those disagreements or what was upsetting her?
I think a lot of it came down to money. Karina liked to redecorate and remodel, and I think that a lot of times she needed some of Ryan's help financially to do those things, and Ryan was kind of the voice of reason. Is it something that we really need to do right now? Is it something that can wait? Or, how much is it going to cost? So he was always trying to do the analytics of whatever endeavor she was taking on.
So when that would happen, and the conversations were about money, there were these sort of, as you said, Ryan's reaction was somewhat analytical. What was her reaction to his analysis?
A lot of times she'd get upset because he didn't agree with the projects that she wanted to tackle.
And what did that look like when she got upset about those types of things?
Sometimes she would yell at him and say things about why she couldn't have the money or that she hated him. And then that was usually time to leave. Like if we were around that environment, that was a sign to go.
How would you characterize how you were feeling then in response to what you were observing?
How I was feeling?
Yes.
Uncomfortable.
Did it seem funny to you or like joking around?
Well, it got to the point where she made those comments so frequently that a lot of us just took it with a grain of salt. It's like, oh, it's Karina. We didn't take it out of context.
Okay. Nonetheless, you said, if I understand correctly, that it would reach a point where you were uncomfortable and it was time to go.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between those two things that you just described? How did you know when it was time to go?
Well, when she started yelling at Ryan and would say things like she hated him and, just vulgar stuff towards him, it just became uncomfortable and no fun to be around.
How often did you see her yelling at Ryan in that way?
More so when we'd been probably drinking. And it just depended on the time of the year, if we were around them.
You said it happened so often that it became just sort of normal.
Yes.
Did you ever see her or hear her make any threats towards Ryan?
Yes, I did.
How many times?
Well, the one that stands out in my mind is the night that she yelled at him and said that she fucking hated him and would shoot him in the face.
When she yelled at him and said she would shoot him in the face, how would you characterize her behavior and the way that she said it?
Well, at that point, we're like, oh boy, time to go. We've all had enough. And so, and like before, didn't take it out of context. It was just Karina getting angry and we just decided it was time to leave.
Is that in fact what you did?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Judge.
Ms. Watt, cross-examination.
Thank you. We've heard a lot of testimony about the times that Ryan and Karina would fight. I have to imagine there were good times.
Yes, there were. Yes,
So you guys did have a lot of fun together over the years.
yes.
And I thought did some people or yourself call her Karen when she was drinking?
I don't know that I ever called her Karen. I just knew better.
Okay.
But yes, I had heard that, yes.
Okay. So people in the friend group were well aware that Karina can be not the nicest person sometimes, and that was her personality.
Yes,
Okay. And it sounds like Ryan, sometimes opposites. Ryan's more the non-confrontational kind.
yes.
Now, you've testified today that you felt like sometimes Karina would go over the top, and I understand that. But do you remember when we talked in April of 2024 in a different room?
Yes.
And do you recall at that time saying that you didn't think it was anything normal couples don't do?
I do recall saying that, yes. But since then, my mind has been like circling back, like, are there things that I missed or that I didn't say? Because this was not on my bucket list to be in this situation.
Right.
And so there were times that, I thought, I didn't understand why she got so angry over the little things. But maybe that is her personality. It's just not mine.
Okay. Yes, I think you also did say that she might yell and you wouldn't yell the same way because you're a bit softer.
A lot, so, yes, yes.
I also understand that hindsight is 20/20, and it's easy sometimes to look back at a situation through a different lens.
Mhm.
Fair?
Yes.
The comment about, find it back here. Let me be clear. Did you ever see Karina act violent towards Ryan, though?
Not physically.
Right, okay, so lots of yelling.
Lots of yelling, yes.
And then the comment of, I should shoot you in the face. Do you know when that happened?
Well, I was going back in the old photo bank, and there was a picture taken of Cortland and I. And I'm not 100% positive, but that was taken back in October of 2018.
Okay.
And I am almost positive it was the same night. I don't know the exact night, but I know Ryan was around, and it was early to mid-evening, so I knew they weren't out during harvest season.
Okay.
Or something had happened that they couldn't be out harvesting. So I know it was that certain time of the year.
I understand. So, but regardless, you think that comment was made in 2018 then?
Yes.
All right. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Mr. Engel, any redirect?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You may step
you.
down.